Hello everyone and welcome back to Run It Up Timewarp. Today we are looking back at a final table I made back in 2007. If you haven't seen the first part of this video, go check it out. We posted that earlier today. I didn't really want to wait. I felt like making one long video would have been too much, but I didn't want to put it off. So I pretty much just hit record again, and here we are, continuing where we left off. So if you haven't seen that yet, you should go check that out. We're down to 3 players here, pretty much a 3-way street fight. We've got 3 players that have all about the same amount of chips. I think that's really about it. We're playing for $225,000 for first. Actually, it's $204,000 if we're going to be exact. Second place, $125,000. Third place, $82,000. Let's see how this works out for us. Starting this off with a little walk. I guess that is a nice way to get us going here. All right, I guess I decided to raise it up here. 8-6 suited, took it down, no big deal. Ain't no thing. Raising it up, ace queen also seems fine. Big blind decides to call. Pretty good flop for us. I assume we're gonna bet somewhere in the range of like 240K, give or take, something like that. Check. Wow, that's tricky, and I wonder why I did that. I don't have a ton of reasons to give you as to why I would do that, because I would expect to bet here with everything pretty much. But back in the day, I did what I wanted. I was a wild sheriff. I did as I pleased, as it were. That's right. Jake Harper does what he pleases. So I guess I just felt like checking back was the way to go. Let's see the turn card here. Kind of a scary turn card, but not really, because our opponent hasn't defined his hand in any way. Now he bets pot. Wow. Weird. Very weird. Very, very, very weird. I don't know what we should do here. I mean, if our opponent was shorter, I would just shove, for sure. Protect our hand a little bit. But as deep as we are, I have no idea what we should do. I mean, okay, that's not true. I think we should just call. I'm not loving it, though, because this is very scary to me. But he could be doing this with such a variety of hands. Worst 2 pairs. Single club draw aces. Single, you could have better hands than us. Could have straights, could have flushes. Although I would be surprised if he had a flush and just bombed it like this. He could have a variety of like king of clubs, queen, hands like that, jack 10 with a 10 of clubs. There are so many hands our opponent could have here. I guess we should call and just pray for no king 10 or 9 or club. God, that seems gross, but this whole thing seems gross. Let's see, I guess, what we do here. Okay, I guess I've decided that I have the best hand, and I'm going for it. Let's see what happens here. And fold. We have seen this guy be very aggressive before and then fold to pressure. He re-raised against that fish sticks guy over there a bunch, and never showed it down, I don't think. But he did seem to be the more aggressive type, so I don't hate our decision there, but we should have just bet flop. And, I guess we might have made more money the way we played the hand in this particular instance, because he gave us a pot-sized bet on the turn, but still, I don't love it. Decided to check back here for some reason, also unknown to me as to why. I would like to see us bet and flop, but I decided not to, and decided to bink 3 of a kind instead. Let's see what our opponent does this time. Once again, pot-sized bet from our opponent. I would really like to see us just call here, though, because please just call, actually. Please, please, please just call. Think about this. We raise pre-flop, check back on flop. What does our hand look like? Think about that. Whatever your answer is, think about that. Now, let's say the turn card comes to forward, he bets and we raise. What does our hand look like now? It doesn't make any sense. If we had a hand like ace-jack, why would we check flop and then raise turn? It doesn't make any sense. We would just call. So if that's going to be true, then if we have a strong hand, we should definitely just call. We call in our hand, looks like we have 2 5s, 2 3s, ace deuce, ace king. We raise and it's like, all right, well, first of all, we take away the guy's chance to bluff. His opportunity to bluff is now taken away, which is bad because we have 3 of a kind. If he has a hand like 2 7s or a hand like 5 6, I guess 5 6 isn't great, but let's say 5 6 river's a pair. That's great for us. River's a 6 or whatever and thinks he has the best hand and then check calls. Great for us. Let's say he has a hand like ace-jack himself. He's just, ace-jack would be kind of crazy. Let's say he has king-jack. That's less crazy. River is a king. That guy is drawing dead. We want him to hit a pair. So if we raise, we just block him out of the pot. So all these reasons and more is why we should call. Let's see what I decide to do here. Thank God. Pretty sweet river card for us. We got this guy right in the cage. Oh my god, it's so sweet. Please bet. Please. Yes, we got what we wanted. So, in cash game poker, I would be very happy to raise here. I'm all in. Make the guy make a decision. In a tournament, I really don't hate calling, but I mean, that's just crazy talk, right? I think that it's very unlikely that our opponent will have a hand that he will play this way, that he will then bet call river with and be beaten. It's possible he could have 4-3. He could have any kind of worse 4 he could have. That would make sense. But if he has a hand like Queen 10, God, that would be an awful call if he played the hand this way and then bet call the river. I think our best opportunity to make money here is to make a small raise, maybe. You know, if we shove, is he really going to call with even like King Queen? I just really doubt it. That would just be crazy insane. But maybe if we made like a really small raise in the river to like 1.2 million, maybe he'll call with something heroic. I hope I just do something besides go all in. I don't even hate calling, to be honest, but I think I like a small raise here the best. I'm all in. Don't love it. Wow. I thought I was going to snap fold. Well, I hope we have the best hand, boys. Oh, wow. Crazy. 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 I don't have any even words for it. Beyond crazy. Like, what in the world do we have? We called... I mean, this is kind of what happens, though, when you call turn. Imagine we raise turn. The guy is so concerned at that point. What does he have me beat? Does he have this? Does he have that? We probably don't get it all. This probably all comes from that turn call that we just did there. And obviously, this all came back from the flop check back a little bit. But, man, that was kind of nuts that we got that like this. Crazy. Worked out really well for us this time, that's for sure. All right. On to the next one. Nice little walk. First hand of heads up here. I raise. Okay. Made it to pair status. So let's talk a little bit about our strategy two-handed here. So we're heads up for the belt, all the bucks, everything. So let's talk about the strategy. This is the guy we've been playing with the most the whole time. He's been the most aggressive player at the table. He has been the most active player at the table. He has not always defended his small blind, but he has most of the time against 10th Planet. He was pretty aggressive. This is why I did it in one recording session, by the way, so I'd remember these things. Let's talk about what else this guy has done. What has he shown down? Anything crazy? Nothing really crazy. I mean, he got most of his chips when he called with aces. That was not the most skillful thing I've ever seen in my life, although he played it very well. I don't think there's really been much else that he's done. But my general strategy here at first, listen, these days my strategy here at first would be I want to kind of feel him out, see how he plays heads up. Is it going to be just as aggressive? If that's the case, then I'll kind of build together kind of like a passive cage for him where I'll be a little bit more conservative. I want to play smaller pots, chip away, not put too many spots, not get into too many spots where I could be at risk. I want to play generally smaller pots pre-flop, bigger pots post-flop, use my position, and go from there. I think my re-raise strategy would be pretty minimal against a guy who's been this aggressive. It'll be pretty value-heavy, I would think, because this guy seems the type that's going to just like re-raise a lot pre-flop, but we don't know that for sure. I'd want to find that out. So that's where I think I would generally be at. And I actually feel like despite some of my weaknesses in my game back in the day, I think heads up is actually something that I was very strong at, generally speaking. I think I was very good with my my game adapted very well to people, even though I didn't have great reasons. I had good instincts, I think, to make adjustments to people as we played heads up. So let's see how that worked out for us this time. He checks, I bet. I think it's fine. I don't always bet here, but I think betting is okay. We certainly have momentum on our side, that's for sure. Having just crushed, like, we busted what, like, most of the people at this final table, we busted that guy with the ace-10 versus our ace-10 versus his queen-jack. We busted a bunch of people. We did pretty good with, did some work here, that's for sure. All right. I would like to see us minimum raise instead of make it 160, but I'm just sure I never change that, so I'll never mention that again. Sizing is 2007. You know, it's wild, wild west out there. I like our flop size, though. That seems pretty good. I would bet you that 2007 Jay Carver checks back on this turn card. It's a queen. It's higher than a 10. Thus, we should check. That logic is just garbage, though, because our opponent has so few queens, right? Our opponent has to have, what, like ace queen, king queen, which didn't re-raise pre-flop and just check called. He has to have, like, 10 queen, which we have a 10. 10s are hard to have. They're hard to come by these days. You know, 6 queens suited, that's tough. Same with 4 queen, queen X of hearts. These are all very unlikely, and I think I would prefer to see us bet here. Even just, like, 350k, I think, is a great bet size, and one that allows him to stick around with worse hands as well. But like I said, Nit Bitch J Carver did not agree. I would really like to see us bet this river card here now that he's checked to us twice, because how in the world does he ever have us beat? Thank God I do bet here. I actually bet really small and kind of turn my hand a little bit face up, which I don't really like. You know, my hand looks like I'm trying to get value out of like a 10 or like a... Yeah, 10. Just like a poorly played 10 is basically what it looks like I have here. So we kind of allow our opponent to play correctly against this, either through making enormous raises or folds correctly, right? And even he calls correctly, I think, as well, because I think he can kind of put us in the right department of where we're at strength-wise. He does call, though. King and 10 must be the best hand. 4, no good. King 10 suited here, happily going to call. Let's see a flop duller. 2014 J Carver probably would check call here, but I think 2007 J Carver doesn't know the value of king high like we talked about last video and probably just check folds. Ooh, not this time. I checking the raise. Okay, sure. How do I feel about this? I think it's fine, but we're playing the devil's game here, boys. You know, like, this is exactly the kind of thing that will make us lose this tournament. Because this guy is the aggressive sort of type. Why are we doing this now, of all times? You know, we don't even have, like, a 3 flush. We have a very optimistic 3 straight, and we do have an overcard. You know, our hand is okay to do this with, but I don't love it. Like, I think there are better spots to test our opponent out with check raises. It's okay, for sure. I really don't mind it, generally speaking. It's a good thing to do. It's a good thing to test our opponent. It could even be winning. We're risking 500 to win, basically 500. Doesn't have to work too often for us to show a profit here. But let's see what our opponent does. I don't love it all in all, but I think it's probably fine. The reason why I think it's the devil's game is because I think he is going to correctly identify that we're being aggressive. Like, we saw this guy put similar people in similar cages. So he may correctly identify what we're doing here and give us some guff for it. Whether he defends or re-raises or whatever he does here. I just don't love this spot. But it works. What can you say? You got it done. Ace 3 certainly going to raise. Our opponent decides to call. It's spots like this where you just, anyone who plays cash has such a huge advantage over a guy who just plays tournaments. Because if you play, wow, really weird flop check back, by the way. If you're a guy who plays cash games for a living, you play heads up pretty often. Wow, what is going on here? And, you know, you play heads up for a living, so you very rarely get to heads up play in tournaments. So back, you know, I don't know this guy at all. He could have been a cash guy for all I know. But for me, because I mostly played cash for the majority of my life, especially prior to the time I played tournaments, I feel like I had a pretty significant edge heads up, but you wouldn't know it by some of these hands. Not that I think this is awful, but kind of crazy, though. Like, I guess I assumed he was going to bet call here with a club. But, man, like, what do we have? What in the world do we have that raises pre-flop, ace-high flop, checks back, and now raises turn? What in the world? Like, it just doesn't make any sense. But our opponent, I guess, just doesn't have very much, and we do take it down. Also, like, the sizing is wrong. Like, the instinct is not necessarily bad. Like, I check back flop to be tricky, and to kind of put our opponent in the cage a little bit. And then when our opponent bets on turn, and I correctly identify that we probably have the best hand, back in those days, I suppose, I was more comfortable or felt like the correct play in that situation was just to raise, and I was probably just not right about that. I probably was just incorrect. I should have just called, I think, so, or made a smaller raise. Either way, I just correctly identified that he was not that strong, and then just didn't know what to do with that information, I think, is the issue I had back then. Ace deuce, sticking to the 160 plan, flopping ourselves gut shots, checking back crazy. And by crazy, I mean awful. All right. Happily, I didn't fold the turn, at least. I think we just check back here at this point. You know, I don't think he folds better hands than us. You know, does he fold better ace highs? Maybe once in a while, but not too often. Wow, and I bet. Why do I bet? Why do you bet, J Carver? Like, you know, I don't believe this guy is folding a 5 or a 7, certainly never a jack. I mean, I don't think he has better ace highs too often. We raised pre-flop, he called, he could, I guess, have like ace 10. I just don't think this makes any sense. He doesn't fold hands that are better than ours, doesn't call with hands worse than ours, so why are we betting? Punish him, Jacob. Yeah. I'm waiting for the other guy. Punish him, Lucky 1, 2, 2, 3. That's right. What are you doing, kid? Trying to bluff. And that's what you get for not just fucking betting the flop. Idiot. Moron. Stupid Jake Carver. That's right. I don't know what to say. It was really dumb. You should have just bet flop. You flop a gut shot. Jack 5, 3. Hey, check. What are you doing, kid? What is this? The clown poker league? Get out of here. Get out of here with your clowny decision making. Blinds have gone up to 40, 80. Ace and king started us off. Decided to keep it up to that 200K, I guess, is what my number is going to be for the time being. Against the limp, I wouldn't mind raising. He's done this now twice as far as I've paid attention to, so I don't mind it. Do I just check fold? Wow, what? All right. I love the speed of these sometimes because I'm just like, oh, it just goes check fold or check call, and then it goes check raise, and he calls before I can even process that I've check raised. I mean, I guess what? I have no words. I don't know what to say. I mean, it could be fine, but we're getting rather feisty here. Like, I think we're really playing a dangerous game. We're playing with fire here and playing these weird big pots out of position against a guy who doesn't seem like he's the worst ever by any means, and we're just putting us in very weird situations. We're putting ourselves in the cage and like daring ourselves to escape instead of just avoiding the cage entirely, which is how I would do things these days. Now what do you do, brilliant Jay Carver wizard of 2007? I'd love to know. I refuse to talk about what I should do. What do you do, Jay Carver? Oh, we're betting. How does that work out for us? Huh, who would have thought? Didn't work out well. Moron. Stupid Jay Carver. Get back in the cage, bitch. Apparently. That's what I'm fucking doing. I belong in the cage this video. Alright, let's see how this works out for us. Hey, we won one. One for the good guys. I mean, that whole force hand is fine, but why? There's no reason to do any of that. You know what I mean? There's just no reason. Why am I doing any of it? There's no, like, I mean, look, maybe I had reasons, blah, 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 etc., etc. But I don't see any reasons for it. Why not just play your hand straightforwardly, like the way it's supposed to be played? If you're going to check raise once in a while, yeah, sure, sometimes, but why then? Why? Like, I'm just picking weird spots to make decisions. I'm checking back ace deuce, check raising pocket fours. Like, I just haven't established my opponent is flawed in the ways that I'm trying to exploit him. And in fact, everything we've seen has encouraged me not to try to exploit him in the ways we're trying to exploit him in this, like, super aggressive game when I really want to play, like, a conservative small ball game and just pick him apart. I don't know what this was. It's an ice pick. I'm going to pick you apart. That's scary, Jay Carver. Don't do that anymore. All right, relax over there. Wow, what is going on here? Boy, that's a good turn card, though. That much I do know. So, our opponent checked and raised here. We raised pre-flop, I would imagine. We raised pre-flop. Our opponent called, and here he checked, and we bet 220, which seems fine, into 420. And then our opponent raised to 620, and we called. How do I feel about that? I don't love it. I mean, look, this is the first time our opponent has ever check raised in this heads-up match, which has lasted only like 20 or 30 hands, mind you. But still, it's not a thing we've seen him do very often, and by often I mean 0 times. Even in this entire final table, has he ever check raised flop? I can't think of a time he has. So if that's true, and we've played 102 hands with this guy, and we've seen him check raise 0 times, that's not a good sign for us with Jack 4 of hearts. Now, that being said, I am sure that I was not planning on just calling and like, let's hit a jack. Like, you know, I'm pretty sure our plan was a little bit more robust than that. How much more robust is up to you, I suppose. But even if you say, okay, we're going to contest on 4s and jacks, obviously. We're going to contest on spades if we got the opportunity to. Don't always get a chance to. We call, and there's 1.6 million in the pot. Turn card is the 8 of spades, which could be a good card for us, but it could be a good card for our opponent. Or he could have a hand that's like ace 3 with ace of spades. Turn card is the 8 of spades. He bets $1 million, and then we're just folding. You know, like there are so many potential opportunities for disaster, but in the cage I go. No big deal. I'll stick around. Sure, why not? Look, do I absolutely think this is awful? No, I don't think that is true. We are calling 400K to win 1.26 million, which is crazy. So we have a ton of chips, we do have position, and we have a great price to try to do something sneaky here. But we're playing a dangerous game, boys. Very dangerous game. But Jay Carver do what he pleases, and off to the turn card we go, which, as we saw, the beautiful Jack of Puppy Dog feet. And our opponent checks, which is rather bizarre, but does bode well for our initial plan. As sad as it is, because we returned the card that we were looking for, and we've kind of got lucky in that regard. We've got unlucky in the regard that he doesn't have 5-4, 10-5, or, you know, ace-10 or whatever. So, our opponent has checked. What should we do here? Take a second. Digest. You're playing for $200,000. What do you do here? $75,000 difference between second and first. Clearly, we should bet, in my opinion. I think there's really no other choice. What we should bet is obviously the question. Now, there's a spectrum, right? Let's take a second and think about this here. This is what my fingers do, apparently. So, there's a spectrum here, right? What happens if we bet 200K? What happens if we bet all in? 3.2 million, his stack. Somewhere in between this number, things change, right? The things he does for 200K are not the things he does for 3.2 million. So the trick of poker, and a lot of games generally speaking, is to find the spot where he will either be re-aggressive, which would be great, where he would stick around with hands that are way worse than ours, and that we make the maximum amount of money for him doing so. So you put all those thinkings into your run-it-up branded cauldron and pull from there your answer, whatever that should be. Well, 1 million, 1.1, 1.05, could be as low as 600K, could be as high as like, probably isn't like 1.3 million to be honest, but probably somewhere between 600 and 1 million is where I think you should probably be at, somewhere in there. Against some guys who are just the type to check call, you want to make it a little bit bigger, obviously, but against this guy particularly, I actually kind of like 700K here, something like that. We're obviously a little bit afraid of a spade, but not that afraid of a spade. And at that point, there'll already be 3 million chips in the pot. So if a spade hits, you're like, no. Okay. I guess. Let's see what I decided back in 2007. 500K. I actually really like it, actually. I think it's, maybe it's a little small, but I don't think it's bad. I would have guessed I would have been too big. But nope, looks like it was perfect. Now what? Okay, so do you guys remember video, then Run It Up 91, we talked about boats and cargo holds and things like that? Well, this is that time again where we do that exact same analysis, and we look at all the things that we look at how this guy played this hand, how this guy, you know, we look at how this guy has got here, and say, okay, what does this guy do with his one pair, or we should start with no pair hands. What does this guy do with his 2-pair hands? What does this guy do with better than that, which doesn't make a huge difference, I guess. So his no-pair hands are almost for sure not going to do anything besides check fold. It's not even a cash game where we can bet $1 million and he's going to check shove with 6-3, or sorry, 6-7. 6-3 would be sad. If he has 6-7 here, we're not getting a dime, no matter what we do. 200K, 800K, that's so infinitesimally unlikely. So let's forget about it. Throw it out the window. Forget about that. Let's talk about what he does with his 4s, 5s, 10s. And to be honest, there shouldn't be a ton of those because he just check raised flop and then check called turn. So I would imagine that he's going to be probably on the weaker end of the spectrum, but not super weak because there is, you know, 2.6 million chips in the pot. You would think he would have something here more likely than nothing. So let's take a look at this. What will he call if he has a 5? Not that much. Definitely not all in. What if he has 10-8 offsuit? What did he call? $1 million? Sure. 1.8 million? I don't know. 1.4 million? It's like the Price is Right we're kind of playing right here. Like, what will this guy call with that 10-8 type of a hand strength? And then you hop it up a notch. What would he call if he had 5-4? 2 million? That's a lot, but he probably wouldn't fold for 2 mil. What would he call if he had ace-10? 2 mil? Maybe. You know, maybe. So you put everything into your blender and you figure it with likelihoods and everything, and you put it all together and then put that in the cauldron. Don't worry, I didn't skip the cauldron for a blender. Yeah, it's an old school blender. And you put it into your cauldron and figure it out as to what you think you should do here as far as bet sizing goes. And I bet you that my cash game self just shoved because I was like, oh, I've got 2 pair in the best hand, I'm all in. But that logic is just awful and rotten and just not truly based on any real sort of logic or reason, or, you know, it's not tailored, you know, to our, how do you guys like my tailoring? It's very good. I would get my pants tailored by you anytime. Is that a come on? I don't know what that means. Anyway, I think I probably just shoved here, but I think the best bet size is probably somewhere around like 1.6 million, somewhere like that. Gives him the best opportunity to call with 10s and 5s. Looks kind of bluffy. And if he check shoved to that, I mean, who knows? I guess we fold, but I would call, I guess, actually. I don't know. That's a very weird situation and very, very unlikely. Oh, wow. Very surprised. I'm very surprised. I didn't look at any of the hands besides I looked at the, you know, when I tried to find them, I looked at the first one and all that. But, boy, did not have any idea that I got the sizing right. Sweet. Let's see if we got paid off here. Nice job. Look at that. What did we beat? King and 10. Nice. Obviously we messed up the flop. I don't think I love that, but we might have won on spades. It's possible. Might have also won on other scary turn cards like 6s every once in a while, or we could have at least tried to. Obviously we went on jacks and 4s, stuff like that, but you know, I think the flop call is the most sketchy part about the hand, but the rest of it seems fine, and I don't even hate the flop call too much. Even from like a mathematical point of view, knowing he has king 10, if he turned up king 10 on the flop, we're not making too big of a mistake by calling with jack 4. Just saying. On to the next one, boys. And we got a little walk. Huge chip lead here, 10 to 1, pretty sweet. I think. Okay, I could start shoving because spots like this kind of happen where I should just open shove to avoid making mistakes, and instead we're in a spot now where I have to call. I'm getting 1.43 to 1, and I don't love it, but I'm making a horrible mistake by folding here against so many hands. All pocket pairs below 2/8, all ace X's that aren't 9 or king. You know, so ace, king, ace, 9 would suck, but every other ace is fine. And that's why you just open shove with this hand and avoid this situation. Or just min raise, so at least when you do fold, you save half a big blind. Ooh, I called. I thought I folded. Wow, unlucky for us. Gonna need some kings and 9s or hearts. Not this time for us. Game continues. All right. Ace and king. Oh, sad. Sad beans for us here. All right. Back on the aggression path. Interesting he just shoves there for 30 big blinds. I don't mind our raise with garbage because we're chip leader and being aggressive and all that stuff, but his shove is very interesting. One of the elements that we completely lose in this video is timing, and that's a thing that for me is the only real information you have online is the time your opponent took to take a hand to make their decision, and we lose all of that in this because it's just an automatic, you know, robotic type of a replayer. But it would have been interesting to see his timing on a couple of these hands. So he limped, we raised, he called, which I don't mind. He's limped enough times that I think this is fine now. And I think a bet here is certainly of the best play. Good job, Jay Carver. Pound it out, bro. That's right. That's right. Fold? Okay. Interesting that I haven't tried one pre-flop re-raise on this guy. Have I? No. Never. Not one. Not that I've had like a ton of good spots to do it, but I should have at least considered testing him. Oh, wow. That is just crazy. Crazy. Why? Why? That's all I have to say. Why so much, Jay Carver? Why so big, Jay Carver? You have no idea why you're making it so big. So just make it... I mean, it's not even in the ballpark. Like, the ballpark should be like 480. 440 is better than 880. Literally twice as big as it needs to be. And our opponent folds because it's 880K. You're basically making him play for his life when you want to just give him the appearance that you're putting on pressure. right? You want to give him, you want to put on the charade that you're just messing with him. He is being aggressive, and you're being like, I'm the table captain now, bitch. And you want to raise to 200K to make your point, or 400K to make your point. Making it 800K, even if he's like grumbling about you being a table captain bully, you don't give him the room to do anything about it. You're handcuffing him. You're putting him in a cage where you like him to be free and then cage himself in a different cage, so to speak. Like, you know what I mean? I think that made sense. But we just didn't give our opponent the opportunities he really needed there to combat our hand. We just basically said, do you have a good hand? Go all in. And instead of giving him an opportunity to be aggressive with a worse hand, or to try to even like win the pot back with some sort of a re-raise. And if he folds to it, we can maybe put more pressure on him that way. You know, if he's oh, this is interesting. This is an adjustment we've made to his limping, but this is too much. Again, there's no reason really to do this here. I don't mind it, but it's just not a thing that we need to do. You know, I don't mind it because we've adjusted to his limping strategy, which is totally fine, but you know, 3-4 offsuit, you can just check. There's not a huge crazy reason to do it at that particular moment. Let him limp, you know. I don't want to discourage that really, because his other option is to really start shoving instead. And I don't love that. I don't mind this check. This seems fine. Interesting flop here. Tad bet, which is interesting. Okay, well, I would like to see us check call, but I have no idea what I'm going to do. Okay. At this point, I think I like 200,000. I think maybe even like 180,000. If he doesn't have a spade, he might still call, hoping to chop. And I feel very comfortable we have the best hand at this point. Yep, you lost yourself 100K there, Jay Carver. True, real talk. Interesting that he's decided to start limping with 10-5 suited, and now I begin the shoving game. I'm not going to make that king-9 decision again, although I did make the correct call, in my opinion, that first time at least. King and king. All right. Unfortunate. Could have just shoved, of course, because I shoved a couple hands before. Okay. Pretty sweet flop for us. I assume I'm planning a check raise all in here. Yep. I take your 80K. That's right. I could have just shoved this as well, but of course, raise and call. King and 10. That is one pair. All right. We did it. Yatta! We did it. We did it. That's right. Champion Jay Carver, $204,363.30 headed my way. Not a bad day for Lucky either, though. $125,400 and change going to him. Pretty sweet final table all in all. The entirety of the final table took less time to play than it did for me to cast. It only took like under an hour for the whole final table to play out, and it took us over an hour to cast it. Kind of interesting, I guess. That's how it went that way, even with the real-time analysis, real-time decisions and all that. So let's do a wrap-up here. So if you enjoyed this video series, I know I gave you guys double dose on Thursday, so you got your Friday video early to complete the whole thing. I didn't want to leave you guys hanging, you know. As a viewer, it would annoy me if somebody put out half a video and said, come back next time for more. I mean, that happens, I know, but when it's only 20 minutes or 30 minutes more, give it to me all on the same day. I think that's fine. So there might be a stream or something else, but nothing scheduled. This will be Friday's video that just came out Thursday, so you guys get a double dose of Run It Up sweetness for your Thursday. So if you enjoyed this whole series video combination thing, don't forget, let me know in the comments below. Don't forget to like the video as well. If you guys want to see more of this kind of stuff, let me know here and on facebook.com/jcarverpoker. And that's pretty much it for me. I will see you guys back for more very soon. Next week, lots of sweet, sweet stuff happening. The rest of January actually is hopping with cool stuff. Promotions and chances to win. Great, sweet UFC prizes and stuff. Lots of cool stuff coming up in January for Run It Up. So thanks so much for hanging out with me as always. And I will see you guys back for more very soon. Peace.